Welcome to the Intercourse Show. I'm your host, Mr. B. Today we have a very exciting show for you. We are discussing marriage and motherhood. Is it wise for a woman to have children out of wedlock? In this particular clip that we're going to review, Kevin Samuels tries to advise a young lady who wants to do just that. She wants to be a mother first before she actually becomes a wife. And he's saying, do you see the disadvantages of that? Statistics will show that that's not bode well for, especially people in the Black community. There's a lot of single mothers, not enough wives, which means the kids are not growing up in a structured household with both parents. And you can't negate the importance of another parent and go it alone. So that's sort of the position he takes, but he gets a little bit of a pushback from her. That being said, I brought along the panel to help me have this discussion. I have my man Zay in the building. I have Christina in the building. She's going to represent, hopefully, for the ladies to try to give some insight and represent the different viewpoints on this. Without any further ado, let's jump right into the video and get this discussion started.
So the question on the floor, you saw the question. What do modern women have to offer? What do you have to offer a man that you haven't already offered another man?
For me, it's a child.
Okay. All right. So that's one thing. What else? Anything else?
I've never been married.
Okay.
I would say those are like top two things that I feel are pretty high value that a man would, as long as he wants it, would see as valuable.
Well, a kid is obviously more valuable than the previous caller, but marriage is more often what? Okay. So at 28, how many children do you want?
3.
Did you go to college?
I did.
Did you graduate?
I did.
I always ask this question. Do you want to have to work to pay significant bills after you're pregnant with your first child?
No. I would like to take the first year off.
And you do that with all your kids?
Say again?
Do that with all 3 of your children? Take the first year off?
I haven't thought about that, but I would more than likely. If I enjoyed the experience of the first child, more than likely.
Would you want to stair step your kids like 1, 3, 5?
Yeah, I would want.
Because you're 28, so you're going to kind of have to get to it. So arguably, if you do that, ma'am, that's like being off. You just said for the first year. So after the third child reaches 12 months, you put it in daycare and go back to work?
No. I mean, I would rely on family support. I do want to be able to have some type of independent.
What if you can create your own website by saying, this is what I want? With Wix, you can.
When it comes to doing things that I also love, I don't just want to be a mom, but I do want motherhood to be a very big part of what I am.
Okay, you say you want to have family support, meaning what? Take your children to a family member?
Yeah, like grandparents.
So you want your grandparent, your grandmother, or you want the grandparents to be the daycare while you go out and do your independent thing?
I don't want to be a stay-at-home wife, so I feel
I'm just working through what you said, man. I'm just working through what you said. After 12 months, the last one's 12 months old. I said, you take them to daycare. You said, I would like to rely on family. That means they go to family, grandmother. And then while they're at grandmother's house, what are you doing?
I'm working. I'm handling business. I'm taking care of my business.
What's your degree in?
Doing copies.
What's your degree in?
Criminal justice, but I'm in finance.
What do you do in finance?
I'm a payroll manager.
Payroll manager. How long you had that position?
5 years.
What state are you in?
New York.
New York City?
Yes.
Okay, so it's 238% of the cost of living. Do you make in excess of $90,000 a year?
Not at the moment. I make very close to it.
Right. But so and why I say 90, so for anybody else, that would be about $45,000 a year in Atlanta, Dallas, because it can sound like a lot of money until you realize a 600 square foot apartment in Brooklyn is $3,000.
Very
So,
true.
how much are you paying your family, your grandmother, to take care of your kids?
I haven't thought about that, but
So
I
nothing?
feel like we could work on something reasonable.
Market rate?
Mm,
Would you be willing to pay what you have to pay the market?
yeah, give or take. Yeah, I would say give or take. I feel like
No, not give or
actually-
take, ma'am. It's either market or not. See, if it's give or take, it's take,
Yes.
and it's taken in your benefit.
Yes.
Okay.
I would.
How much is infant care? How much is infant
care?
care? How much is infant care weekly?
Don't give me the line. I don't have kids. So
Just
I haven't
guess.
looked
Just
into
guess.
it.
What
But
do
I
you
would
think?
say on average weekly, maybe no less than $1,000 a week.
For one child?
1,200. Say again?
For one child, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's use your number, $1,000 a week, but you have 3 kids. So 135, you have 2 kids in care. So that'd be $2,000 a week. Let's just say $1,500 a week. That's $6,000 a month. That's $6,000 a month. That's $72,000 a year, and you don't even make $90,000 a year. Why are you working if you got to spend that much money to your grandmother? You ladies don't think about the math.
I didn't think about that part. I haven't thought about the honestly.
Well, the thing, well, no, but what you do, but let me finish my example. Let me finish my example. You don't think about the math because what it is you guys value these goddamn jobs more than the most important job, being a mother. You want to be independent, making your own money, so your grandmother or somebody else who should be living her golden years got to raise your children. So you can go out here and work at some corporation to pay for somebody else to raise your kids. And then when it goes awry, you start blaming the system.
Yes, you make valid points. Now that you broke down the math, it does not make sense to essentially pay my salary in childcare.
No, that's
However, I do feel like being a woman, only one aspect of being a woman is being a mom. But I would still like to be able to do things that I'm passionate about. So
Such as?
I would
Such as?
I'm very much so into yoga. I love to travel.
How do you again?
I have a
How
tax
do you?
business.
How do you?
I'm 28. I have a tax
Young lady, let me
business,
say something
so-
to you, and I need you to listen. I don't know where in the hell y'all got off thinking that y'all's life is supposed to be better. Travel is for people with real money. You don't have it. Unless you're talking about listen, ma'am. Unless you're talking about traveling to Philadelphia, you don't have that kind of money to be traveling. So to travel the way most people talk about travel is somebody has to fund it. It comes out of the family nest egg. Okay.
I've been able to go to Colombia, Kenya. Like, I feel as if you proper planning, you'll be able to travel.
You're a single woman and you can do
you
can a single woman, you can do that. Well, how much student loan debt do you have?
0.
Okay. Colombia, South Africa, as a single woman, yes. Where are you? How are you going to be able to do that see, what you're listening to, folks, is women who don't know their place. Women who are wanting to go take their children and let somebody else raise them. And then you just want these kids are pets. Listen, man, because who's going to raise? How are you going to take your kids to Colombia, South Africa, and all this other kind of stuff? Have you ever ever even babysit? I need you not to overtalk me. I don't know. Have you kept a kid for longer than a week? Have you kept anybody's child for longer than a week?
No.
Then you have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm going to go ahead and level set you real quick. I'm going to level set you real quick. Ma'am, yes, as a single woman, you can go to these places. But just like I said at the beginning of the show, it's not about you. You get married for something bigger than you. You don't even want to do the number one job and raise your kids. You want somebody else to raise them so you can have some independence. Then buy a dog. That's not a wife. That's not a mother.
So according to your standards,
not according to my standards, Mom. It's not according to my standards. Your grandmother is raising your kids so you can go work in finance or the criminal justice degree. Not my standard.
I'm only saying your standard because we're having this dialogue, and I'm only hearing from your perspective on it at this current moment. Not saying that men don't agree with you. However, I'm just saying that according to you, marriage, once you lock into marriage as a woman, you're supposed to be a housewife or just lock into.
What's the purpose of marriage? What's the purpose of marriage? What's the purpose of marriage?
For me, the purpose of marriage is partnership, unifying worlds, and basically essentially helping each other to grow and.
Ma'am, excuse me. Hold on. I didn't ask you this earlier, but are you a Christian or no?
No, I'm spiritual, but I don't
Okay. So
claim a religion.
Around the world, the purpose of marriage is a woman to be a man's helpmeet. Everywhere else in the world where they have family, a wife's job is to be her husband's helpmeet. What you're talking about is some last 60-year womanist, feminist gibberish that doesn't work. Partners, all this other kind of stuff. Ma'am, at the end of the day, you'd be marrying somebody. You get pregnant and have the baby, but the responsibility of raising that child would be offloaded to somebody else that you would pay. That person, while you're at work doing whatever, is grooming your child. You're not raising a child.
So is a woman not able...
Ma'am, I'm not finished. You're maintaining a life at that point. That's all.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Is a woman not able to work and take care of a child? Do you feel as if it's either or?
What do you mean? A woman is not able. A married woman?
Because it sounds.
Are you saying a married woman, ma'am? I'm trying to be clear. Is a married woman?
A married woman, yes.
Well, before I answer that question, what's more important, your job or your children?
My children.
Then everything you've described, I want the audience to list. I want you guys to write down in the comment section, what has she described is more important to this point, her job or her family? Ma'am, I'm letting the 21,000 people know. See, you can't reject that. You need to just be. Well, you have to wait. I didn't say. I'm going to tell you how I'm experiencing it. I want you to understand how men and women are hearing this. Everything you've talked about has been about this new wave mother stuff. It's like I want to be independent and I want to travel and this and that. Nope. That ain't about family. That's about you.
I definitely want to travel with my family.
Uh-huh.
That's possible. I've seen it in real life. I'm pretty sure people can attest
to
that.
It's possible. It's possible, but But I'm also going to ask you this too. It's possible. And with how many children you say you want? 2 or 3?
Correct.
Uh-huh. How much money is your husband going to have to make in order to support a family of 3 in New York City? to where you can travel out of the country?
Probably over, definitely in a high 300,000 and over.
Definitely in the high 200, no. Definitely in the high 2 or 300s. So he's gonna have to, another one of these men who's gonna have to be in the top 1%, top 3%. How tall are you?
5'2".
Dress size?
4.
How much you weighed last time you weighed yourself?
150. But
you're not a dress size 4. Not a dress size 4. It's a lie. It's not a dress size 4.
I'm not.
Okay, all right, okay, that's fine. That's okay. You're dress size 4. You're dress size 4. That don't matter. Don't matter. You're fine, ma'am. Next question. On a scale from one, on a scale, no.
You're 150.
No. God damn it, I said no. I said next question. On a scale from 1 to 10, on a scale from 1 to 10, you can't use 7. Where would you rank yourself? Fresh face out of the shower, your natural hair.
Okay, that's how I look right now. So
I'm asking you, what would you rank yourself on a scale from 1 to 10? Fresh face out of the shower. What would you rank yourself? Can't use 7.
Fresh face out the shower. I'm an 8. I'm an 8. If I can't use 7, I'm an 8. I'm not gonna go low. I'm gonna go
You're
high.
6.
I see myself.
You're 6. You're cute.
I'm not a 6.
You're 6 every day, ma'am. You're 6 every day and twice on Sunday. 5'2", 150 pounds, ma'am. You're cute.
You think 150 pounds is...
You're cute. You're cute. You're cute. I'll give you cute. But if you're 150 pounds or 5'2", you're every bit of a dress size 8, 6'8". And here we get right down to the man who's making the kind of money you're talking about has a lot of options. That's what it really gets down to. It don't matter what you think, man. Did you hear what I said? The man you're talking about, $200,000+ has a lot of options. Do you not understand that? Do you not agree with that?
I understand that.
So if he has a lot of options, what men who want families don't pick are women who are a 6. Whether you like it or not, you're not an 8, 9, or 10. An 8 puts you right at Beyonce's level or higher, and that's not you. I'm not saying you're unattractive. I just said you're cute. Ma'am, I'm moving on.
This game, you're not ready for it.
Bottom line is, men don't pick women who, these men tend to want legacy. They're not looking for someone who's looking for a partner. They're looking for a wife to raise their children, to pass their culture, their beliefs on. Listen, ma'am, listen. Oh, Jesus. Women like this believe being a mother means giving birth. That is not what being a mother means. The things that we remember about our mothers and our grandmothers is they did more than gave birth to us. They raised us. Your grandmother baked. My grandmother was a nurturer. Her family was primary. We traveled, but no damn way would she put her travel up before her family. And the work, you're not supposed to want to give your kids over to anybody else. You're supposed to want to have your kids at home. You're supposed to want to have a lower standard of life, smaller home to keep your children and your family where it's important. So you input into them. Women like you, modern women think giving birth and being a mother are synonymous. They're not. And damn sure not for the kind of men earning the kind of money you're talking about. There's no, okay, ma'am. I got news for you. Okay, I got news for you. There's no balance with the kind of men you're talking about. What are you doing with your microphone? There is no balance for the kind of, again, understand, guys, this woman wants a man making $250,000 or more. There ain't no fucking balance with that. And I want folks to understand. She's not a rude woman, but this is a cute black woman who wants a man who has the buying power of $250,000 or more, and the best he's gonna get is a rent-a womb, and your grandma got to raise his kids. Men don't want that, man.
I would say
Can you guys hear me? Okay, now we're going to shift over to the panel discussion. Based on what we just heard from Kevin Samuels and this young lady, conversation, I want to get your thoughts about the discussion. His argument is that a lot of modern women have an expectation that their man needs to be, making upwards of six figures, and they want the man also to be okay with the fact that they want to pursue whatever it is they want to do, and not necessarily be in the home to raise the child. And for the young lady, her argument was she doesn't necessarily need to be married to have a child, right? She's totally okay with having a child out of wedlock. And he was trying to make the argument as to why that is not beneficial. I mean, one of the things he said was that, a 2-income household is better than a 1-income household, and that the cost of raising a child is going to be a lot. And it sounds like for the young lady, in her mind, she thought it was okay to still be working a job and to kind of still pursue her career and her dreams of traveling, all while having a child. And it would make sense for her to leave the child in the care of her grandmother to raise the child as she traveled and lived her life. And he was trying to point out that that is not exactly ideal for any man of means, to have a woman that is, planning on dropping the child off at her grandmother's house so she can continue to live her best life. That being said, we've raised some of those points. I want to get your feedback. I don't know. We should start with ladies first. We got a few gentlemen in the room as part of our panel. We got Zay. We got Sir Mixologist from LA, my man Rennick, and we also have Christina. I'd like to start by giving the floor to Christina. What is your thoughts on this particular topic? And do you defend the young lady's position? Do you disagree with Kevin Samuels' advice? What's your thoughts?
I wouldn't want to raise a child by myself. I can't even see that. And then for me, I can't. Now, when it comes to traveling and all that mess, I will put that on hold for my child. I wouldn't even think about doing that right then and there. But like, the only difference between me and her is that I wouldn't work, but I'm retired military, so I'm gonna have a paycheck coming in each month. But I feel like when you have a husband, y'all are working on it together. You don't have to do it by yourself, because I wouldn't want my parents to raise my child or other people.
Okay.
And that's just how I feel.
Okay, let me ask you a more direct question. Do you think it is wise to raise a child out of wedlock? Meaning, some young ladies think they can forego marriage and just have the child on their own, as if a single family or a single parent household is the ideal situation for a child. Would you advise other young ladies to do that? It seems to be a modern way of thinking from a lot of young women who just feel like, having a child is okay, outside of marriage, even if they're not with that person, it's a thing now. So do you think that it's wise for young women to do that?
No.
Okay. That would be a fairly different response than I would expect. Tell me why you believe it's not wise.
because I was raised in a 2-parent household. My parents are still married to this day, and I feel like my mom, she was able to get a break, when my dad would come home, and my dad was able to get a break, so. And then a man can only teach their child so much, and a woman can only teach a child so much. So when you have best of both worlds, it's just a better situation.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, we're joined by Lorato. I'm going to fill you in, Lorato, on the conversation we're having. We are discussing marriage, our children out of wedlock, whether or not young women are choosing to have children outside of marriage. Do you think it is a wise thing for young women to do? There was a discussion that took place earlier prior to you joining the panel discussion where Samuel was trying to advise a young lady that the cost of raising a child is increasing, and she had relayed to him that she thought she didn't necessarily need to be married in order to have a child, and that she planned on getting help from her family, i.e., her grandmother, to help her raise a child. So the question was, do you believe that it is wise for young women to forego marriage and go directly to having a child without the support of a husband or a partner in one household?
Mm. Well, thanks for allowing me to join. Morning, everyone. I'll go right into controversy. My response is probably, as always, going to be out of the box. Life is hard, right? And you just have to choose your hard. Uh, but I will say this, as a one-parent household myself, the most important parent in the household for a child not to have daddy issues is a father, not a mother, a father. And I am a mother. So I do not have my face on, but I'm very much a lady. And the reason I say this is because by design, we were intended to thrive and to survive in this universe and in this world. A mother by herself can never turn a boy into a man. We think we can. Can never. You think you can do bad all by yourself. You're right. It gets worse all by yourself. And so now the alternative, the flip side of that is by her wanting to have children and skipping everything else, there is one benefit, and it is the benefit of skipping Big Pharma. Today's feminist movement suggests that we don't need men. Well, okay. The flip side of that, if you don't have a man, never been married, never have children, you will end up, I'm sorry about that, you will end up on antidepressants with a little chihuahua that licks you and welcomes you home every day. Or you will have drinks night every day, and we call it having fun with the girls, when really it's augmenting the antidepressant that is no longer working. Because again, by design, we were never intended to be alone, or a man or a woman on an island. And so, yes, by her having children, she will probably reduce her dosage of antidepressants and growing up being by herself and being so successful, but yet empty. So it'll fill a very small corner, but then it is a future disruptor to that child because that child needs a father. Not having fathers in the household, that's another story, but it is by design. And so I will pause.
I think that's really good feedback. Although, would you acknowledge that probably the majority amount of women would not say the same thing you're saying, is what you're saying? And that's, some of the men are texting me and saying, wow, you don't even need us in this this chat, because these women seem to get it. But generally speaking, most women would not necessarily, most modern women, I should say, would not necessarily take the same position. Would you Would you say that most modern women would say something to the contrary of what you just said?
Absolutely. Outside of this panel, you know that I am an executive in technology. I'm an engineer by background. And so I am supposed to tell the young women coming up that they can do that all by themselves, et cetera, et cetera. Now, choosing one of the most important decisions that you will ever make is the person that you lay down with, because they can either take you down or they can elevate you, right? And so we should not make excuses for our bad choices in men and going outside of God's design in choosing, whether we're choosing, six pack and looks and a fly car away from integrity and value. And then we sit here and we say that, oh, that man was useless and I can just do it. I just need a sperm donor. Our choices and decisions have consequences, people. And so, yes, again, in today's world, they will tell you that, oh, you don't need a man, you're successful, you make more money. But no one tells you that you're lonely, you're depressed, you are alone, and you're living outside of God's design. And there is no pill, there is no glass of wine, and you tell yourself it's self-care because you're going out for a little glass of wine. It starts with 1 day a week, and then it's 7 days a week because you can afford it. And so we need to stop lying to ourselves and get to it. Let's go back and be as humble as our great grandmothers. It is not new for us to have careers and jobs. Open the book of Proverbs, or if you read the Quran, you will find it there as well. There was a very enterprising woman who was a businesswoman. She woke up and worked the fields. The fields today might be running a business or two or three. And still she came home, made dinner, and was a mother and was a wife. So nothing under the sun is new. Nothing. We're not special. But we are definitely working ourselves onto the short bus by agreeing to the narrative that we don't need each other. We do.
I could not say that any better. All right. To the men, I'm going to open up to get some feedback from you guys. What are your thoughts? And I should add some context. A lot of us may have different viewpoints on this. Some of us come from religious backgrounds where a lot of our principles guides our opinions. Some of us may not have that experience. So whatever it is you think, I encourage you guys to kind of share your viewpoint on this. What do you guys think? Do you believe that it's a must that people be married before they jump into procreating, having children, and being all under one household? Or are there cases and scenarios where it is appropriate for women to forego having a partner in the house and just kind of doing it on their own? You guys can jump in, whoever wants to take it. Either Zay.
Isaiah, I'll let you go. You not there? All right, so then I'll go.
Jump in, man. Jump in there.
I honestly, I think it's a product of the new age we're living under right now. I don't think women these days, and honestly, I think even women who are, let's say, millennials, they have adopted the same mindset, which is, I'm just getting in a relationship for how I feel right now and not really putting a lot of thought into the longevity end of it and looking at the big picture, which is to take the time to do your research, to take your time to go through, the ups and downs of just personality differences and being okay with that, and really thinking about, am I here for long-term challenges? Am I here for the good and the bad?
times, you know, I'm walking into this now and it's great, but it's not always going to be the way it is now because we're only humans, right? And so we're going to have differences. And am I going to let those differences detour my vision, my goal for what I want out of this relationship? I don't think that is something that women think about today. I think women are more predisposed mentally to think that they don't need a man. They don't need um, they don't need to get married. If they have a kid, they have a kid, and they'll figure it out because they're women and they're strong. And by the way, all those things, you don't need a man. You're a woman and you're strong. I believe in those things. You don't necessarily need a man. You can be a strong woman. The point is do you understand that a man is needed? You don't necessarily need a man, but a man is needed. So, do you understand the difference between the two? Both of them can exist in their own spaces. And with that, being said, we're walking into it as men, feeling a little discouraged when it comes to feeling like we're getting into this and it's going to be something that's going to last. That's the main thing we're doing now more than we ever have in the history of man. We're the ones now thinking, is she for me long term? Am I going to get something out of this for the future? And thus it stops us from really putting in faith when we enter into the situation, because we've been we've been given this new way of thinking for the woman, which is you only have so many times, as opposed to, I'm not worried about you messing up. I'm worried about how do we mesh, and are we going to make this forever? And the term ride or die is a real thing for me. All these little things that should be going through the mindset when you're thinking about being with someone and potentially creating a future with them isn't going on. It's not going on anymore. It's all about, what can I get out of this man? Allow me to be a feminist. Allow me to have my own things and do things my own way, as opposed to saying there's a way of living on your side as a man. There's a way of living on my side as a woman. I have to acknowledge these are the things you need as a man. These are the boundaries of which you need to be set in order for you to go on and be the type of man I need you to be, in order to support me, in order to feel like you want to do things for me, think about me, and all these great things. And then on the other side, there's the man's job to say, this is the type of things she needs as a woman to make her feel secure, make her feel heard and appreciated. It's two different. We both need two different things, but so much of that is not happening. And I say all that to say, I don't think it's a bad thing for women to be single mothers. I think as long as you got a good man who's right there as a father, and he may not be the best man to you, but he's the best man to his children and supports you because he loves his children and wants and knows and understands that is the most important complex of his life. That is the number one thing that serves him purpose. Then things can work itself out. I don't think that kids who have single mothers are any less forged with opportunities than kids who grow up with a mom and dad in the house these days. Because I think these days now, I think men are more righteous about being available for their kids, because it's something that has been a real big talking point with single men these days, that they just don't show up, or they're not around in their kids' lives, not giving time. All they're giving is money. I feel like that's a big thing for men, and I think it's something that we think about on a regular basis, that I don't want to be the dad who just gives a lot of money. I want to be the dad who's present. The money comes second. It's my availability comes first. I want to make sure I'm around so they can see my smile, so they can see my attitude, see my posture, my demeanor, my mannerisms, my ethical, equity that I can give to them, to say this is where, and also to teach them culture. I want them to be cultured. Understand that this is where you come from because this is where I come from. And that's a part of you too. And that's a huge factor. You cannot let the woman decide to try and do that for you, because you leave it up to her. She's not going to do it. She's busy. She's tired. She's forged in her own destiny. She's trying to run these kids into the right, place in life. She doesn't have time to do what you should be doing. So, I think it's a thing on men to that we want to be there. So, obviously, I don't think that a woman should step into a place where she is even comfortable with having to raise kids on her own ever. I think that should be like the last thing on her mind, or like she should be trying to avoid that like a plague. But in order to make sure that happens, you got to stay committed to your man through his BS, through his growth, because and women know this. If they say it every day to little girls, they say it. I say it to my daughter. You're just more advanced than your brother was you were more advanced at 8 than he is now. You were just more advanced because you grow faster mentally. Mentally, you grow faster. So you got to give him some time. Be patient with him. Allow him to grow at his pace, but try and teach him a little bit more so he can be more advanced than the boys his age. But that's your job as a woman, because you had an advanced, expedition of mental health. So give that to him. Allow him. So, luckily I have a daughter and a son who's younger that I can teach her how to do that. And she does it really well now because I've said it over and over and over like a broken record to her. So now it's plastered and cemented in her mind to do that. So she does it without me even having to ask her. But if we allow women to just challenge themselves to go back to what adults have told you when you were younger, girls are smarter. They think quicker. They advance more in maturity sooner. Okay, that doesn't change as you grow in life. Men, even when they're 30, they're 25. So a woman, when she's 30, she's 40. She's so much more thinking about all these, huge and intense things that a man at 30 is not thinking like that ever, because we're just more of a practical mindset. We're just here and now, black and white. So if women just allow men to grow and have patience with them through all the BS, we will stay there through all the extra energy that you give, all the extra attitude you give, all the BS that you have attached to you. We'll stay there through that because you've stayed with us through our BS. And if you do that together, you can last together and have a long lasting marriage, relationship, whatever you want to call it, because now people obviously don't get married all the time either. They just prefer not to get, the state involved and all that, the legal stuff, right? They don't want to do the contract thing, right? So, but regardless of whether or not you get married or not, if you stay together through the bullshit, you'll find yourself a very happy person later on down the road in that relationship. That's my point of view.
Okay. I think there's some gems you definitely dropped in that. I think the men on this panel are all fathers, so we kind of can see it from two different point of views in terms of what it is we teach our children, but also what it is we advocate for our sons, having been, young boys at one point who had to grow up into men and, take the responsibility as a father. So, Isaiah, did you want to weigh in, or should I sort of transition to the next question?
Nah, you can transition to the next one because Rennick hit everything on the head. I couldn't have articulated it any better than the way that he did and expanded upon. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question I have, and I'll pose this first to the ladies, is where do you think this mindset of not necessarily needing a man is coming from? Like, is our culture driving that? Is it the mothers that's kind of reiterating to the women, to the younger generation of women, be self-sufficient? Although I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but be self-sufficient, be independent. And has that message been taken to extreme when you have a lot of young women saying things like, they can go alone, they don't need a man, and things of that nature? Where do you think that came from? Is that coming from society? Is that coming from other older women who just feel that this is a message that should be passed down to the generation of women under them? Where is that messaging coming from?
I'll say the music and stuff that is out now. And I now me personally, I don't feel that way because I was raised in a two-parent household, but my father, my parents, they raised me to be independent, but also, it's better to work, when you're married because like I said, they're still married to this day. So all that not needing a man, yeah, it's better when you do it together. I can't stress that enough. But with the songs and stuff that come out today, that's what people go off of, and it ain't the right way. To me, it's not.
So you think there's a messaging, like a societal messaging that's been passed along down the line, or is that like a trauma thing? Is there some trauma related to that?
Well, I can't say that because, like I said, I'm in a two-parent household, so
Yeah,
I
that's what I
can't.
mean. I mean, like, fortunately for you, you are, you know, you have been fortunate enough to experience that. But I think a lot of women would say that they grew up not necessarily seeing a man around, so all they know is, seeing a strong woman uh, at the helm and kind of holding things down. So that's where they draw their motivation and their inspiration from. So is that, do you think part of it is music and can be passed off to the culture and music, or is part of it due to the fact that there is an environment where that's essentially what they're exposed to?
It can be something that they're exposed to too. Because a lot of people like, my mama was able to do it by herself, so that could be a thing too. But for me, I just feel like you can have a hole in your heart when that other parent is not there, because like, you'll have like the what ifs they were there. How would my life have been?
That's true. Lorato, any thoughts on this? I don't know if she may have dropped off. Fellas, would one of you guys want to jump on this particular thing? What do you think is the cause? Is the cause of this thinking or this mindset that a lot of young women take these days? Where are they getting it from?
So I'll jump in here. I think it's a mix between the messaging and the modeling, not only in our community, but also in our households as well. Particularly with the rise of divorces, the rise of single parent households. Obviously, when you're speaking about trauma and things of that nature, it can be something that is passed down as the example, AKA the modeling, right? But then also from a cultural standpoint, the consistent message that, uh, the independence, the lack of a need of a man around that things could be handled independently, I think, creates a crack in the foundation of being able to build in a healthy manner across the board. So
I agree. Go ahead, Ren.
No, that's right on cue. Um, I again, it goes back into the whole, raising kids on your own thing. Um, a lot of influence right now is, based on the independent woman, you know, um, and the independent woman, unfortunately, is not uh, tethered to a high valued man. They don't put those two together. They put the independent woman by herself, or they put the independent woman with a man who produces less than what he should. And they make it more about an empowering statement than something that is just that should be celebrated as normal. Like that, women are okay. It's okay for women to be independent and powerful, but they should be that way in a family setting too. It should be they can do their thing and start their own enterprises. That's independence. You don't need to you don't need to be a powerful woman who has to have a man invested in everything you do. You can do that on your own and still be a woman who has a family, who depends on her man, and who supports her man, and who serves her man and understands that like he is the power force behind what you got going on in that family. He's the one who takes real care of the family, who's there to outside of providing, he's there to keep you secure and to honor that with strength, but still be able to say, I am independent. I'm independent. I can do my own thing. I don't need him to be following behind me, making sure I'm doing it the right way. I can do it on my own. But you know what? At the end of the day, I understand that this man is pivotal to my everyday experience, my everyday progress in my life, because I love this man. He is going to be with me and I'm going to be with him forever. It can be those two things can exist together. So we don't get that. And what instead, like I said before, we get independent as no one else is needed. It's just she should be on her own. She can be on her own, and it's totally fine. She can do it all by herself. She doesn't need a man to help her and back her and be behind her to support her. She doesn't need a man to feel safe. That is the wildest thing I've ever heard in my life. Because at the end of the day, when you walk down the street, and if I don't know a woman who can say she can safely walk down the goddamn street without turning her head and hoping that somebody ain't behind her. There's not a woman I know that can say that. But you know what I can say? There are plenty of men who do that every day and feel comfortable with it. They ain't looking behind their back. They're like, I wish you would come up over here with that bullshit. Right? So these things are not, they're forgotten, right? They don't want to tell the real facts, the dangerous truths, which is you do need physical presence. You need that in your life. So why act as if the absence of that is, null and void? That doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? And so because that's not being taught, it's because you can do anything a man can do. No, you can't. It's not within you to do things that we can do, everything we can do. And just like we can't freaking think as in depth as you do, or have babies. Like we can't do these things. There's things that a woman can do, a man just can't do. And I'm okay with that. But don't tell me that because you never hear him say to little boys, you don't need a girl in your life. You don't need a woman in your life. They never telling boys that. They're telling boys to go seek out the woman, seek her out, find her. That's why we find ourselves at older ages in lust, because we've always had it pre-programmed in our minds. Seek out the girl. Where is she? That's why they say the power of the P, right? Because it's always been in our mind to go and seek that out. Where is it? But for women now, they're not told go seek out a man. They're told you don't need a boy. Like you can do it just as good as a boy can. You're just as powerful as a boy. And it's like, yeah, it's like you can't put it in one basket and call it everything. It's not that. There's many things, definitions of power for a woman when it comes to you can be more, you can be just as good in business as a man. Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah, you can be just as fast as a man. Yeah, you can be just as fast as a man. You cannot be. It's not programmed in you to be as physically dominant as a man. It's just not possible unless you go and do extra things to do that. It's not within your natural state. So I expanded a little more than what was said by the other panelists, but it's literally the independence factor that is being preached to little girls and reinstated in their minds as they go on to different levels of education. From middle school to high school, it gets only more aggressive because they're obviously preparing them like they would prepare children to go to college. They get more harder education so that they can be properly prepared for really hard education. So they treat it like that. Oh, we're going to instill this in your mind more and more. So when you get out into the workforce, you can be the woman who holds the seat that majority of men hold. And you got to think about it like that. But then what they're not understanding is that translates over into everyday life and relationships. And now the woman's walking into her relationship like she's walking into the boardroom. That's not the way it should be. And that's where the confusion is. is that you're walking into your relationship like you're walking into the boardroom. This is not a boardroom. We are not in competition with each other. We are on the same page. We should be on the same page. We should be working together. Nobody is more higher than the other in this situation here. Many situations, you're going to have to be on the same page with me. I'm going to have to be on the same page with you. I got to make decisions just as much as you got to make decisions at the end of the day.
It's a very good point. Isaiah, thoughts on this?
I already gave my thoughts first. He came in after me, bro.
Oh, he laid it in. Okay, perfect. Actually, honestly, bro, that I can't say there's a better way to put it. I mean, I think both of you guys kind of touched on it. Christina, I'm curious, because you're a pretty strong woman, right? You've accomplished quite a bit in a very short time span. How do you feel when you hear men like us talking about women depending more on men? Is that something that offends you? Meaning, based on how you did grow up, is the notion of having to depend on a man something that you find like to come across as weakness for a woman? I'm curious to see, like, what do you think women of your generation think of that? Like the idea of needing to depend on a man. And when I say it, I think there's a difference. I think as a woman, you can be dependent, meaning self-sufficient, meaning you have the skills to survive in the absence of a man. But realizing that you need a man because it's advantageous to have one around. One, for some of the points that Rennick raised, and that, a man provides protection. He provides a different point of view. He's a different thinker. He can provide some vantage points that you may not have considered. A man obviously has some different strengths. And so it just makes for a more complete family structure. But a lot of women sees a man masculinity as a threat. Is that your point of view? Or would you say, if not you personally, sisters, siblings, or friends that you've had, do you think that that's their point of view? Like they feel like a man's masculinity is a threat to them more so than a help?
I don't think it's a threat. I don't feel like it's a threat at all. I just feel like it's protection, really.
Okay. You feel like it's protection. Okay. So you are of the mindset that women should be more receptive to the leadership of men. Because that's another thing that I found, is that a lot of times people are not as receptive to the leadership of men. So, and so based on the fact that we are teaching our young girls to be independent, when a man attempts to lead them, there's pushback or there's resistance. Would you agree that is something that is a fact? With today's modern day women? Any one of you guys could take that question. I'll ask you, Rennick. I know she just said, I don't know if she's having some mic problems, but do you think that in today's day and age, there are some resistance to women being led by men?
Of course. Like I said, it's women. It's them toxifying strong men who feel like they are the leaders of the household. They toxify that as toxic masculinity, and it's not. It like being a strong man now is a mentally strong and physically strong man now who asserts dominance in the household is toxic masculinity now. He can't say, this is my house, let's respect it. This is what I want out of my household as the man. And, I'm going to protect this home, be there to support this home, whether it's financially or, spiritually. This is the type of woman I want. I'm not going to take anything less. if things were to change, this household is going to be turned upside down, rather, to like emotionally and all, like, right, we're going to have to go through it with each other because it has to be this way. That's called a toxic male nowadays, which is absolutely ridiculous, right? So because our masculinity is weaponized, it's made women more comfortable to say, I can just make decisions for myself everywhere when it comes to me and in everything. And I don't need anybody else to tell me what I'm going to do and what to do. And I don't need to be in a relationship where I can't be the one who's making all the decisions, which is extremely, like, it's not a recipe for any type of success whatsoever. Because let's be quite frank here, men allow women to make a lot of damn decisions. And a lot of that is pushed upon us by the legal system too.
True.
Even the legal system allows women to make decisions that aren't in the best favor of the man. Woman has, I mean,
system set up for that. Yeah.
it's set up for that, right? It's set up to give them some sort of an advantage because the system says men are too powerful, so they need something. But it's gotten so ridiculously far that now it's turned on its head against us in so many different ways, legally and also personally, when it comes to a relationship in the household. So now we're sitting in the house trying to we're basically on the gladiator pit in the house, going at it to find out who's in dominance here, who's asserting control over here, and what is under control for you, what is under control for me. When before it was just you got into the house and you figured it out through the relationship what battles you want to pick with each other, and you just loved each other, but you figured out your battles while being together to say, you know what, I'm gonna give that to her. You know what I mean? I'm gonna give that to her, and I'm just gonna pick my battles. It used to be that way on both sides, and the woman knew that. Listen, this man, he cannot do the things I can do when it comes to taking care of the household, making sure it's where it's supposed to be. So I can't expect that of him. And the man is not even going to try because he's going to be like, I'm going to fail at it, and then she's going to give me a hard time. and the same thing goes for the man being like, I'm not expecting her to make all the money and control how money is leveraged and to go out and be aggressive with other males about how much money I'm going to be making. I'm not expecting her to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to allow her to rest a lot. It's not her job to allow me to rest a lot.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So the fact that we can't just be okay with those two realities is why we have it now, why there's just all this resistance. And it's as if, you know, the male side of things is just completely diluted, you know, and like I said, that's why you have so many single women there's more single women today than there's ever been.
That's true.
But
let me say this. I mean, from the male side, is that a messaging that's being procreated from their single mothers that they're growing up in the household of? Because the single mother is only going to push her point of view to whoever's in her household, no?
Yeah, but I don't think that a single mother's mindset indoctrinates itself in the boy's mind as much as it does in the girl's mind.
Yes,
because
what I'm saying is what you said was earlier about the man has to come away with the sense that he has a part that he plays as well. And if a young man grows in an environment where he sees his mother as the caretaker, he sees the mother as the breadwinner, right? Now, in a way, he subconsciously becomes dependent on the mother.
No, you're right. You're right. And then he pushes that onto his relationships, and now he's like, oh, I expect a woman to take care of everything. Yeah, 100%. That can happen for sure. That can happen for sure.
You have guys who are gamers, you know, like they're grown men, and they'll play video games all day while their girls go and work 2-3 jobs to take care of them, and they come home, they playing video games, they didn't cook, they didn't clean, they didn't do anything. But that's what a kid would do when their mother goes to work.
But that's what I'm saying to you. That's what I'm saying to you. It all comes back down to the root of what I was saying, though, which is if you have women who are growing up with this independent state of mind about everything, they're going to grow up taking care of little boys who don't know how to then grow up to take care of little girls. You know what I'm saying? And grown women.
Yep.
Exactly. Like, so it's the same exact thing. It's just a really disgusting Ferris wheel, you know? And unfortunately, this is what we're dealt with.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And another thing I was going to point out was, you know, hold it be to us as men to go, you know what? At some point, you just have to start speaking truth to power, right? Which is, listen, as a woman, you can go with all that independent stuff, but at the end of the day, you want somebody by yourself, to yourself, all the time. The difference over on this side of the tracks, we don't need to be with somebody all the time by ourselves. We have to see something that is worth us not having multiple options. Because by nature, we like multiple options. We can exist never getting married and just having multiple women in and out who are continuously catering to us, making us feel powerful. Because that's what we want. We want women or a woman who makes us feel powerful. So if I can't get one woman to make me feel elite and powerful, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get several women to continuously tell me how powerful I am.
Yeah.
That's the difference between you and I. Women don't need a man to tell them they're powerful and all that stuff. They just need a man to show them affection and be committed to them and make them feel special. You're not going to get...
The point he just raised about what women need, would you agree with that, or would you characterize it differently? I don't know if she's still having mic issues. She might still be having mic issues. Go ahead, Rennie, finish your point.
No, I was going to end it actually, just in closing to say that it's needed. The real discussion is needed to be had in larger forums about the importance of truth, like within, from women as it relates to their place in this spectrum of relationships, what it means to a relationship. This whole thing of not needing men and wanting to just lean on independence and be by themselves is poisonous for the future. I mean, we're going to be continuously raising kids in single family homes if you do it like that. And by the way, this single family home thing is not just a black thing. It's a white thing. It's a brown thing. It's a yellow thing. There are a lot of kids out there in single families. So in single family homes. And I guarantee you,
epidemic of it, actually.
Yeah, and the ones who are lucky enough to have a mom and dad in the house, I guarantee you that mom and dad are having issues and they sticking it out.
Yeah,
they are sticking it out.
That's
because they're like,
we don't preach enough of the stick it out method. Like,
yeah, but guess what? You know what? It's worse when the woman comes from a single family home where she's seen disappointment. She's lived sadness. She's lived through separation. And you know what happens? What happens with people who go through trauma? They end up going towards trauma because it's a comfort thing, right? And so they recreate that same trauma because they're comfortable with that trauma because it's what they've known and they've lived through it and they survived. So they feel like, you know what, I'll survive it again. So they recreate it for themselves later on in life. They're willing to just give up. And that's a major thing I talk to my kids on a regular basis. Although you are in a situation where mom and dad aren't together, don't you recreate it. Stick things through.
Wow.
Stay committed through the hard times. It's gonna pan out.
I think that's the best way to really kind of end this first episode we're having. I think I'm gonna go ahead and start a series on this. I wanted to actually have the discussion, but this has been so fruitful that I would definitely want to do a follow-up as long as you guys are open to it. and where we can get more input from both man and female viewpoints. Christina, is there anything you want to say to wrap up before we end the whole setting? I do want to give you a chance to weigh in.
And no, thank you.
Okay. Well, I thank you guys. We're now about an hour into the discussion. I know this is kind of late here on the East Coast. I thank all the viewers for joining us for this discussion. And I ask, if you're not already connected to the Intercourse Show, to like and subscribe, and also to share the conversation with others, but also comment. Let me hear your viewpoints on this subject matter and others. And I thank all my panelists, some of which have already dropped off due to other engagements they have off the call. But for the remaining panelists and also for those who contributed earlier, I thank you guys for your contributions. And to the viewers, I wish you guys the best until we can see you again. God bless. All right. Thank you to the panelists and also to the viewers. Everyone have a blessed day. Later.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.